guys, what's up and welcome to my top 10 map making tips. Some of these you may already know, but I'm going to try and cover everything from simple terrain modification like creating hills, right through to some more advanced stuff with prop rocks and things. Hopefully there's something for everybody, so let's get a move on. Choosing a theme for your map is probably the most important decision you'll make. The best maps on the workshop have a clear theme, and what I mean by that is it a desert? Because if it is, it's probably going to be predominantly flat. Or are you looking for sort of more mountainous sort of terrain? With that, there may be more trees, for instance. So nail down that theme early. Messing around with the terrain can be one of the most enjoyable things to do in Cities Skylines. The method that I use to create hills is pretty simple really. I'll start out with our terrain brush on a low sensitivity and the size to about 500 minimum. Create these finger shaped hills, then we want to come back over it with the brush set quite a bit smaller and just define the hills a little bit more, including the valleys between them. You could also maybe add some small ridges coming down off the sides of these as well, but finally I'll come back and do that all again on an even smaller setting. The first thing I'll do creating a beach is use the terrain leveling tool and set a height just above water level. Then I'll flatten out a good part of the waterfront here to create that beach. You can make this any size you like, but for the sake of this I'm going to keep it small. Next you can use the smooth tool or the slope tool to just gently slope that beach away and under the water. Once you've placed your sand down, you want to raise a little bit of terrain up just on the edge of that to create like a sand dune, and this is where the tide would flow up to and then back out from. You can mess around with different sizes and leave little gaps for walkways down to the beach and add prop grass too if you like. Realistic maps don't have beautiful beaches everywhere, they have these more rugged areas. To create these, I'll often swell the land out with the terrain tool and make it a bit more hilly, put some trees on it and some prop rocks around it, and it's really surprising how realistic and how cool this can look, especially right next to a nice beach. A general rule of thumb I'll use when placing the trees is to try and keep them to the valleys. There may be one or two trees at higher altitudes as well, but generally they'll be thicker in the valleys. The next little trick that I like to use with the trees is to create these like rivers or look-alike rivers without introducing a water source. I try and make these look like they're flowing out of the valleys of the nearby hills and following the terrain out to the nearest coast or lake. When it comes to detailing the side of a hill, I'll try and keep the larger trees to the bottom, and a good little tip for scaling is to use smaller trees the further up the hillside we go. This especially makes the hill look really tall. We are starting to move into mods territory here, and you cannot pull this one off without the mod called Theme Mixer 2. What that mod allows us to do is download different map themes and basically change the resource button or the resource function into any texture that we want. We can use it to brown off the tops of hills where it's starting to get into a sub-alpine environment, and even add lookalike snow. So to do this I use the ore and the oil function and just change it to whichever one is appropriate for your build. There is however a bit of an art to applying this. You have to have it on a low setting on the edge and sort of feather it away, or it looks much too contrasting to the grass. The ability to add snow in without using a winter theme map is also pretty cool. You can use it to coat the tops of these hills, and really make them look like they're tall. Sometimes it's a good idea to use trees as well to help transition the different colours and textures together a bit more smoothly, but it looks great when it all comes together. I remember being quite intimidated the first time I used the height mapper. Turns out it's super easy and by far the best way to get really realistic looking terrain. There used to be a site called Terrain Party, but it hasn't worked for a couple of years, and I've forgotten the name of this one, but I've got it linked in the video description if you're interested anyway. Jump on here, you can cruise around the world to any spot. All the spots in white are going to be higher points on your map and black are going to be lower points. You can pretty much just zoom in and take a screenshot. Now I suggest using an area or working with an area about 9 kilometers squared. There's a scale on the side that you can use. I also suggest taking a few different height maps from different places around the world and maybe 2 or 3 from the same spot, just in case they come out one better than the other. Once in game, it's as easy as just flicking through them and loading them up. The terrain tool doesn't quite go steep enough to create realistic cliffs. You can see here, even going as steep as we can, it's still only like a 75-degree slope at best. By introducing a couple of grey flames prop rocks here, we can make this look way better. Depending on the colour that you want, the ones we're going to need are just one with a straight 90-degree edge. Also, we want a rock with a mossy green surface on the top. And the first thing we're going to do is use that and go right along the edge of where we want our cliff. This is basically going to make it look like the grass goes right up to the edge of the cliff. Then it's as easy as copying our cliff face rock a few times and placing it along following the edge of the grass rock. At this point you can do whatever you like with the top, but a little trick I like to do is introduce some trees right up to the edge of the cliff. This helps with the authenticity and also hides the mossy rock a bit. Also, don't be afraid to leave a couple of gaps in the cliff where it's maybe eroded away. Keeping with the prop rock theme, this is my tip for creating realistic looking mountains. Now I mentioned earlier here that I'm using procedural objects to scale the rocks up. You don't have to use it, but it's certainly making it easier. The idea here is to follow the natural terrain, so we're sort of accentuating the high points. I'm also adding in a couple of white rocks to make it look like it's snowy up here. We can add to this look further with the resource that looks like snow added to the nearby hills. Admittedly guys, this one doesn't look as good up close as it does in the background, so keep that in mind. This method might be perfect for creating a really big mountain right on the corner or edge of your map. Also, don't forget to match the color of your rocks up to the theme that you're using. When you get the hang of it, you can even create these lookalike glaciers with these white prop rocks. I think this looks really cool. And finally we have creating realistic rivers. Now I'm not going to run you through how to make an entire river, it's more just to make it look more realistic. The first tip here is to make it branch into 2 and sometimes 3 different separate rivers that merge back into each other. Next we want to move in and add some prop rocks, not everywhere, just here and there, and also change the texture around the river to a sand or more appropriate one. You can even place some grass right up to the edge of this texture that looks really cool. You can finish off around your river with plots of trees and even more grass. Well, I hope you guys are inspired to go and try something new with Cities Skylines, and good luck with that. If you guys think this is going to help you in any way, I would sincerely appreciate a thumbs up. In any case, I hope you guys look after yourselves, and I will see you on the next one. Take it easy.